The issue that keeps coming up is California has become really unaffordable, and where are my kids going to live? Although those who have family, those of us who have kids, I think about that too now. I've got 2 kids of my own, and I certainly hope that they get to live this amazing California life that I've had with amazing opportunities. The truth is that won't happen if they don't have a place where they can afford to live. And California is becoming a place where even college-educated individuals cannot afford to stay here. We pride ourselves on it being such a great economy in California, which is fueled by the opportunities that our academic institutions, our public universities primarily, have created these opportunities for people. And those are really great things. But if your talent can't find a place to call home, they're going to take their talent and their skills somewhere else. And that is the largest threat to the future success of California. So that is why the issue matters so much to me. My parents never owned a home. I'm the first one, obviously, in our family to go to college. And so that college opportunity afforded me this opportunity to have a middle-class lifestyle with a home ownership. But it's something that is no longer really feeling like a reality for a lot of people. Yeah, I've introduced several laws every year, many of which have been signed by the governor to try and tackle this problem, from making it more affordable to build, to streamlining the process that is the environmental review process so that it doesn't delay the building of housing. Those are all laws that I've worked on, and a few others to try and make housing more attainable for everybody.
It's not just your community. You've been talking to other people from different communities, and some people say it's because there's not enough land and we're next to the ocean. Mm-hmm. There's different arguments. What is the root cause of this housing being a lot more expensive than the rest of the country?
So people want to live in California, and we haven't necessarily kept up with that demand. Again, our universities attract talent from all over the world, from all over the country and all over the world. And those students who come here want to stay here. And they are more competitive. They have obviously better skills, which means they have better jobs, better paying jobs. And so the more pay you have, the more you can afford to buy a home, which means those in the service economy or those who are lower middle class, then the compression is felt and it becomes more unaffordable to them because we do not have the number of units that need to be built. I just want to point out and recall when Governor Newsom took office in 2018, he called for 3 million homes by the year 2030, which is what really California needed. Or you looked at the Independent Legislative Analyst Office, they talk about the millions of homes that are needed to meet the demand in California. We are not on track to meet either Governor Newsom's expected goal or the Independent Legislative Analyst Office's goal, or really a lot of cities' own goals that they've created because they've identified as a need in their own cities. We are not on track to do that. And so we have to make it easier. Those are some of the laws that I've helped to pass. We need to make it more attractive to developers. I always like to say this, government doesn't build housing. The private sector is what builds housing. The more difficult you make it for the private sector to build housing, the less likely they are to build more housing. And so we need to eliminate more red tape. As you're talking about, is there more land? We know that in urban communities, like big cities of San Diego and even some of our larger cities like Chula Vista and most of the cities that I represent actually are quite urbanized. There really isn't that much more land available. And so our future development and our future growth is through infill, which means you identify areas where you can grow and build taller buildings to allow more people to live. And there's parts of cities and communities where that makes absolute sense. There are other parts perhaps where that doesn't make as much sense. But what we've been doing is passing laws to make it easier for developers to build in those areas where it does make sense, that denser or taller buildings, so you can try to provide housing opportunities for more people in those areas. And those are some of the things and some of the reasons, some of the ways in which we are trying to solve the housing crisis.
And do you get pushback from the cities when is it challenging to?
It depends. So I'm lucky enough that I represent cities in San Diego that have really tried to do their part, whether it's Chula Vista, who's grown tremendously, City of San Diego that has passed policies to allow infill urban development, National City, a very working class community, which has also done its part in building housing down by the border in San Isidro, Tai Mesa. I represent some pretty good communities that have acknowledged that this is a problem and that they need to be part of the solution. Throughout the state, though, you do run into cities that just don't want to change the way they are. You find this a lot in more affluent communities. You find this a lot in the areas in the coast part of California. They love their views of the ocean and lack of neighbors around them, and they want to keep things that way. And so I've had a law This actually was a proposal that did not become a law to try and incentivize and allow for more development of more housing along the coast, these more elite, expensive areas of California, where we would allow more housing to be built in exchange of the developer, the builder, building more affordable housing on that same site. We were not successful with that law. There's still parts of California that resist, that push back, that don't want to see things change. And the truth is that California has only thrived because of its growth in its industries, and industries only grow when you have more people to work in those jobs. And so we want to continue to be successful. That growth must continue.
Now, about affordable housing, how does the model work? So you guys, is the state trying to get, I know that each portion of a building that's built should be affordable. Can you tell us about the affordable housing?
Yeah, so the way I've approached this is through proven incentives, so that if you have a piece of land where you can, let's just try to use some basic math, you can build 100 units today, because the city already said on that land you can build 100 units, no matter who you are. If you want to build 100, you can build up to 100. And that might sound like a large number, but there's places in cities where that's the number. You could even, let's just bring it down to 10. Let's say you have a piece of land where the city said you can build up to 10 units. The laws and the incentives that I've worked on has said, okay, if you developer build some of those units to be for people who are low income, and then I passed a law that said, or for people who are middle class or middle income, then not only can you build your 10 units, but you can build double the number of, so you can build up to 20 units, but you have to keep some of those affordable for people who are low income and for people who are middle class, middle income. So that gives the developer the incentive to say, okay, it's going to cost me more to build these units that are going to be affordable because I can't charge the normal rent, but I'm going to be able to build a few more units where I can bill and charge the rent that is the market rate, and I'll recoup my costs by having those people pay the market rate, and I'll keep those prices low for 55 years or longer for low income and middle class families, to keep the access or the cost of that housing at a much significant lower cost than what it costs for the person who lives in a market rate unit. So those are the types of incentives that we're working on.